Hi guys, welcome back to my channel For Your Heart and Home. My name is Dee Dee. Welcome into my kitchen. Today I will be sharing with you a few freezer meals that I will be preparing, as well as what we will be having for dinner tonight. It will be a full day of cooking, so let's jump right into it. Guys, I'm really excited about this first one. I am using my bread machine and I'm using my basic sandwich recipe that will be linked in the description box below to make a Dutch oven loaf. I have seen tons of videos online. I've seen posts all over the place of everybody making Dutch oven loaves, and I've been a little bit nervous to try this, but I said, hey, let me give it a try today. So here you see me putting all the ingredients into my bread machine to get my bread loaf started. My bread machine will take about an hour and a half, so I'm going to put all the ingredients in, let the bread machine do its thing before I jump in and do anything else in the kitchen. For those who are watching for the first time, my bread machine is something that I've had in my kitchen for quite some time. It is a very, very well utilized tool. I use it every week to do many things, to make different kinds of bread, as well as to make pizza or pasta dough. I do not use my bread machine for baking my bread. I like to use it so that it can knead the dough, proof the dough, and then I remove it from the bread machine and finish off whatever I'm making in my convection oven. Once all my ingredients are in my loaf pan, I will put it in my bread machine and get started on the next thing. The next thing I wanted to work on today was some homemade ice cream. I will be using this ice cream to make some basic ice cream pies for dessert tonight, and so I wanted to get started with that so that the machine could go ahead and do its thing. We got an ice cream maker a few summers ago, and it's been a game changer. We love ice cream like most other families probably do. And it's probably one of the only times you'll see me using a lot of milk products. And we were concerned about the different additives that were being placed in ice cream. And there was a scare once of people just walking into grocery stores and licking the tops of ice cream containers and closing them back up and putting them back on the shelf. And so we wanted to avoid that. And we got an ice cream maker. And it has been a wonderful addition to our kitchen. I love that as long as I have the ingredients on hand, I can just jump right into the kitchen and make ice cream. The ice cream machine that I'm using, I will have linked down below, as well as the bread machine that I'm using if you're interested in learning what I'm using to make this ice cream. I am using a very basic vanilla ice cream recipe that came with my ice cream machine, and the recipe book that came with my ice cream machine has a variety of recipes that you can use. It makes sorbet, it makes different things, but to be quite honest with you, I've only used it to make vanilla ice cream so far. And the ice cream comes out really creamy, and I just love it. And once we bought this ice cream machine, we haven't gone back to buying ice cream from the store, and that's been at least 2 years at this point. So all I'm doing right now is just following the recipe that came with my ice cream maker to put all the ingredients together, and then I'm going to put it in my machine. And the machine usually takes about 25 minutes or so to churn all these ingredients. Once the machine goes off, you have to move quickly to get it to a freezer safe container and then get it into your freezer so that it can harden. Otherwise, it will continue to churn and will soften. During the holiday cooking season, I had purchased these pre-made pie containers So I am on a mission to use up these pre-made pie crusts. As I mentioned in my previous videos, when it comes to holiday cooking and holiday baking, I do a lot of things from scratch, but sometimes I go the easy route as well. So I've incorporated all my ingredients and now I'm going to pour it off into my ice cream machine. Okay, so the next thing I'm working on here is dinner for tonight. I will be making some barbecue chicken, and if you've watched my previous videos, you'll see that I'm using my green sauce that I made in a previous video. And that again is a base to most of my protein preparation. I have cut up a whole chicken and I have reserved the chicken breasts. So right now it's just the rest of the chicken that is in my bowl. And I'm going to season it to my liking. Guys, I don't measure. So if you would like a recipe for this barbecue chicken, I will link something similar below, but I'm not following a recipe. I'm just seasoning with my heart with what I like to use, what I know my family enjoys, and the green sauce is the base of that. The chicken breast that I have reserved, you'll see that I will be using that later, and I will be taking those and turning them into jerk chicken meatballs. So here I am adding a lot of the seasonings that I like to use on a regular basis, all-purpose seasoning, some garlic, some onion powder, some black pepper, some paprika, some thyme, some parsley, and some salt. You will see in most of my videos that I am very light-handed with the use of salt. And that is because some of the seasonings that I'm using already contain salt. And even if the seasonings don't contain salt, I don't like to oversalt the meal. So you will see me using salt in most of my preparations, but I will be using a very light hand when it comes to using salt. So once I've put all the seasonings that I would like to use on this chicken in my bowl, I'm going to go in with my clean hands and I'm going to incorporate that into the chicken. Ideally, you would like to do this from the night before to give your chicken a chance to soak in all of that goodness. I did not have that privilege at this moment. I'm just going to do my best to season the protein, and then I'm going to put it in an oven-safe dish and put it in my preheated oven. Massage the chicken. Do your best to get the chicken well coated with the green sauce as well as the other seasonings. Excuse me while I wash my hands. Alright, so I've come back with my oven-safe dish and I'm going to put the chicken into my dish in a single layer. I mentioned this in a previous video, but I have replaced the use of aluminum foil almost exclusively in my kitchen, and I have done so by simply purchasing an oven-safe dish that comes with a lid. And I've been able to do that and have eliminated, like I said, the use of aluminum foil almost entirely. I still use convenience trays that you'll see me using later on in this video, but outside of that, I do not use aluminum foil if I can avoid it. If I have to do a lot of cooking all at once and I don't have enough containers, then I try to scatter my cooking so that I will avoid having to use that aluminum foil. So guys, I've put my chicken into my oven safe dish and I'm getting all of that goodness onto the meat. Then here you go. Have a look at it. Then I'm going to cover it with the oven safe cover and put it in my preheated oven. For time, temperature, and instructions on how to make barbecue chicken, I will link a recipe that's similar to what I'm using down below in the description box if you are interested. So in this next video, you will see me using chicken breasts, and I will be grounding them and turning them into meatballs. So 2 of the chicken breasts that's in my bowl right now were from the chicken I cut up this morning, and 2 were from a previous chicken earlier in the week. Whenever I break down a whole chicken, I like to reserve the breast for occasions like this. I use it to make meatballs, or I cut it into strips and make it into chicken strips. I use this tool to ground my chicken because it's just one more thing that I can do for myself. I used to buy ground meat from the grocery store, but I find that sometimes the meat did not have the quality that I was looking for, and it actually saves me money. I can buy a whole chicken and I can break it down and use it for different things versus buying the chicken in parts that's already broken down and also buying ground meat. For me, I prefer to just buy a whole chicken and use it the way I would like to. So with this machine, in less than 5 minutes, I can have ground chicken just like you can find at the grocery store. It's quick, it's simple, and really it doesn't add too much time to my prep day. If you are interested in the machine I use to ground the meat, you can check the description box below. I will be sure to link something similar, if not the same machine, down in the description box for anyone who's interested in using a machine similar to this. Now that I have ground up the chicken, I am going to add seasoning with my heart to my liking. So like I shared before, this will be turned into jerkchicken meatballs, and you will see me using the jerk sauce that I created in a previous video. You'll see me using the green sauce as well, because the green sauce is the base for what I use for most of my proteins. Once I have added the ingredients that I'm looking for, I'm going to go in with my clean hands and incorporate it all together. I did also add a little bit of pasta sauce to this mix, and the pasta sauce was a home canned pasta sauce. The barbecue sauce will be a home canned barbecue sauce, as well as the ketchup. That was also home canned. And if you're interested in seeing how I can ketchup, barbecue sauce, pasta sauce, I will be sure to include that in a video in the future. For this recipe, I have also included my own homemade breadcrumbs. Now, if you're making a lot of bread products, you'll find that once in a while you might have made too much and the bread might have gone stale or may have come out a little bit too hard, or for whatever reason your family didn't want bread that week. You might end up with a few slices of extra bread or maybe an extra loaf. If you want to, you can save that loaf in your freezer, and when you have time, you can break it down into chunks, dry it out in your oven, and then turn it into your own breadcrumbs. Now, I was on this mission to make my own breadcrumbs, not because I had an excess of bread per se, but because I finally read the label of the breadcrumbs I was buying from the grocery store, only to find out that it had bioengineered ingredients inside. So once that was finished, I was like, there has to be a simple way to make breadcrumbs. And to my surprise, there is a simple way to make breadcrumbs. And so I have been making my own breadcrumbs for a few months now. And I really like that something that I made from scratch can be turned into something else. As you can see, I actually needed a bigger bowl, and so I switched to a bigger bowl to allow me to really incorporate the ingredients together so we have an even, consistent taste across all of the meatballs. While I was making the meatballs, the machine went off for the ice cream. And so, like I said before, if you don't move quickly, the ice cream will continue to churn and will essentially just soften back up into a liquid. So I put the meatballs to the side for a bit so that I could fill these pie crusts that I got from the store. Again, these were pre-made, they were easy. I bought them during the holiday season, and it was made for a very quick and easy, simple dessert for dinner. And once I filled the containers up enough, I'm going to top it with some chocolate chips and some peanut butter chips. This might be something that everybody already knows, but I just recently learned that there's something called peanut butter chips. And I've been on the hunt for peanut butter chips for the longest time. And I was so excited to find them in the store over the holiday season, and you best believe the first chance I had to use them, I was going to do so. So here I am topping these ice cream pies with chocolate chips, and I will also come in with a few peanut butter chips to top it off. Guys, this worked out beautifully. When these hardened up in the freezer and we cut into them, it was just silky smooth ice cream, and then that perfect combination of chocolate and peanut butter. Ooh, we all loved it, and I definitely will be doing this again. Alright guys, so the pies are finished. I'm going to put the covers on, and then I'm going to stick them right in the freezer so that the ice cream can harden. So here you have it guys, it's done, and I love the simplicity and ease of this dessert. Then I'm going to get back to my meatballs. I'm simply just taking a handful and I am rolling it in my hands and making it a ball. Very simple. This is not what we are having for dinner tonight. Tonight we're having barbecue chicken with lasagna. This is just something that I'm making right now so that it can be a gift to my future self. I like to have one or two things in my freezer that is just simple and easy to use, especially on busy nights. We are a homeschooling family, but we get busy also. We have after school activities sometimes, and even if we don't have activities that take us outside of the home that day, some days I just want to have dinner time be very simple. So to have something already made in my freezer is just a gift to my future self. We do a lot of scratch cooking here, so again, anytime I can take something and make it convenient, it's going to help me to continue in that pattern. If it's too cumbersome, if it takes too long, then I am not going to continue and I'm not going to form a pattern. I need things to be easy, convenient, and something that, especially if I get sick or something, I can say to my oldest child, hey, go to the freezer, take out X, Y, and Z, and get it in the oven. That's something that I can tell him and he can do it with no problem. So this is a gift to my future self. Meatballs are so versatile and something that I like to have on hand when possible. I haven't had meatballs in a long time as I've been using the reserved chicken breast to make chicken strips, but you know what? It's time for a change, And this is one way to just change up our menu. Now I'm going to take these and I am going to make them freezer safe by wrapping them in parchment paper. Do you guys have any ideas of some good freezer safe containers? Preferably not plastic, but if plastic, that's okay too. But I'm looking for freezer containers that I could use to put different meals away in the freezer. You will see me using the parchment paper here, and it worked out great. Plastic wrap is something I've also eliminated from our kitchen many years ago, and so that's why I'm not wrapping this in plastic. But if you have plastic wrap, you can by all means do that as well. But this worked out fine using the parchment paper, but it's so much paper. So I would like to find a container that I can put in the refrigerator and also put in the freezer to preserve the food, because I don't want the food that I'm spending the time to put away to become freezer burned. So I'm wrapping this in parchment paper because my intention is to flash freeze them for a few hours. After they have frozen, I plan to put them in a zip top bag and place them in the freezer. They will not be in the freezer for more than maybe a week or two, and so I will put them in a zip top bag. I won't even label it much. I'll just do that because I know for a fact what it is and I know when I'm going to use it. But I would like some ideas for long-term storage of food in the freezer. So if you have any ideas or any recommendations, please feel free to leave a comment down below so that I can check those out. So now I've put the meatballs away in the freezer to flash freeze, and my barbecue chicken is ready. I am going to flip the chicken and add the barbecue sauce to the chicken. I am using a home canned barbecue sauce recipe, and I can share that in the description box below. I'm also using a home canned ketchup recipe, and I can also share that in the description box below if you're interested. I am a home canner, but I am not a pressure canner. Neither am I a tutorial for how to can. I do a little bit of rebel canning. I do a little bit of Amish canning, and I can share with you what I have canned, but this is not a channel for any kind of canning tutorial. I do suggest that you do the research on your own, find what is safe in your area, and find the times that are safe for you to can in your area. Because if you're going to put food away, you want to put it away properly so that it doesn't hurt your family in the future. So I am incorporating the ketchup and the barbecue sauce, and then I'm going to add it to my chicken with a little bit of water to create the gravy. I am going to apply this gravy onto my chicken and then put it in my oven to finish off. You want to cook the chicken until it's fork tender and cooked all the way through. This barbecue chicken came out phenomenally, you guys. Everyone loved it and they wanted seconds. We are a family of 5, and like I said before, I try my best to scratch cook for us throughout the week, but I do not cook everything or every meal every day. So this barbecue chicken, for example, will be served for dinner tomorrow because whatever is left over will be used for dinner the next day. So now my bread machine has gone off and it is time to remove the loaf dough that I made earlier that I will be turning into my Dutch oven loaf. So I'm going to lightly season my counter and put the dough on the counter so that I can shape it and allow it to do a second rise. I also have to preheat my Dutch oven, and so this is all going to give my Dutch oven time to come up to temperature, as well as give the bread loaf time to do a second rise. Again, I'm using my basic sandwich bread recipe that came with my bread machine to make this loaf. I'm sure there are tons of recipes available to use to make a Dutch oven loaf. This is just the one that I have. This is my first time doing it, and so I figure I'll just go with a trusted recipe and I will practice the process. I do have a lot to learn, but I'm really proud of myself for trying something different, and I'm also proud of the result. So I'm going to take this loaf and I'm going to put it into a well-seasoned bowl and allow it to do a second rise. You know me, guys, we apply a generous layer of butter when we're working with dough so that it doesn't stick. So as stated before, I'm making lasagna to go with that barbecue chicken that's in the oven right now. And I'm going to use my cheese shredder to get my cheese mix ready. I will be using Parmesan cheese, Gouda, mozzarella, and sharp cheese in this 4-cheese lasagna that I will be making. Lasagna is something just my husband and I like to eat. My son is still experimenting. He's not sure if he loves it, but he'll try it. And so I don't make lasagna very much because it's really just the adults who's eating it. But during the holiday season, I like to have one available as one of the options. And so I have a lot of lasagna noodles left over from holiday cooking. And so today I decided to make a tray, and I said, hey, why not make 2 trays? That way I can put one away in the freezer, another gift to my future self. And so that's what I will be doing today. I'm making one for tonight's dinner, and I will be making a second one that I will be putting away in the freezer so that I can bake off on the off chance later on when we need to. I will tell you that lasagna lasted barely 2 days, the one I made for dinner today. And I don't think the one in the freezer is going to last much longer either. So I'm really glad that I took the time to make it today. I shared in my previous video that I no longer buy pre-shredded cheese from the grocery store. I've been experimenting with different types of cheeses as well. It's my first time using Gouda, and I really like the flavor. It really enhanced this lasagna that we were having for dinner on this day. So my cheese is done. I grated it all. I'm going to incorporate it together so it has a nice mix. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I like to have a lot of things going on at the same time. And so while I'm getting ready to prepare this lasagna, I'm going to have my bread machine going as well. The Dutch oven loaf is proofing, and I also would like to make some cinnamon rolls that will be used for breakfast options this week. And so I'm going to have the bread machine making the dough for some cinnamon rolls while I work on the lasagna. So what you see me doing here is following a recipe I found online that I was very, very excited to find. It works out really well. And you guys, I'm not measuring anything. I've done this so many times that I don't feel like I need to measure, but I will include the recipe in the description box so that you can follow along. I measure with my heart around here. And again, because I've made this recipe so many times, I've pretty much had it memorized. And I apologize for that. I know many people require exact measurements when they're cooking and baking. And I will include in the description box all the recipes that I'm using today, or some variations of it, because some of them I'm just cooking from my heart and others I'm using specific recipes. So I will have everything linked in the description box below. This cinnamon roll recipe is beautiful. I've used it with my bread machine over and over again. It's worked out beautifully and I love it. So the next thing that I need to work on is the filling for my lasagna. So you'll see me here. I started with ricotta cheese. I'll add some eggs. I will also add a generous serving of parsley and a bit of salt. To that mixture, I'm going to incorporate my cheese mix that I made earlier. I'm going to reserve some of it for my topping. So my cheese is all ready, and it's time to layer this lasagna. As you can see, I'm using a bit more of my home canned pasta sauce, and I think I used maybe 4 quarts of pasta sauce between the 2 lasagna trays I'm using here. So as you can see, I have an oven safe dish that I'll be using today to bake the pasta in, and I also have some leftover containers that I bought during the holiday season for when we had friends and family coming to eat. So I'm just going to use that as my freezer safe container today. But again, if you have any recommendations for good quality freezer containers, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you use. Let me know what works for you. Today, this is what I'm going to go with. So I was struggling a bit to get my noodles to just lay down, to stay together, not fall apart. But you know what? It's okay. At the end of the day, it doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to taste good. And so that's what motivated me. That's what kept me going. And I just layered these on top. There's really, no hard and fast way to make lasagna. I put a layer of sauce, and then I put a layer of noodles, and then I put a layer of filling, and then I just repeated that pattern all the way to the top. All right, so now both my lasagnas are ready. I completed them by putting that reserved cheese blend on top, and then I put some parsley to top it off. I will take one of them and stick it in my preheated oven, and the other one I will top and place it directly in the freezer once it's cooled down a bit, because the noodles were still a little warm. My barbecue chicken is ready, so I'm going to pull that from the oven, and I'm going to put my lasagna in the oven. Now, have a look at this barbecue chicken. It is just delicious. It's beautiful. It worked out great. It is basically falling off the bone. The gravy is nice and thick, and it's just the way we like it. All right, so my lasagna is finished, my barbecue chicken is finished, and my family is hungry. So I'm going to take a quick break and get us something to eat, and then come back and finish up the things that we're working on in the kitchen. All right, so I took a break. We had some dinner, and it is time to attend to this Dutch oven loaf. Now, I was a bit disappointed because I think my loaf overproofed because we stopped to have dinner, but that's okay. I literally fought with the dough a little bit. I brought it back, and it worked out in the end. It was my first try. I know what I want to change next time, and I will definitely be trying this again. So what I did simply was to bring my Dutch oven to temperature. Then I put the loaf inside of the Dutch oven and baked the whole thing off in my convection oven. If you would like directions on how to make a Dutch oven loaf, you can visit my description box, and I will have a recipe linked there below. I will be clear, this is a yeast loaf. This is not a sourdough loaf. I have not tried sourdough yet. I'm still on the fence about it, but I might give it a try. We'll see how it goes. I wanted to try first with the yeast breads to see how difficult it would be, if my family really liked it, because I didn't want to invest too much time in sourdough. But I like to try different things, so I might be trying sourdough in the next couple of months to see if it's something that we can do or if it's something that we like. So after fighting with the dough for quite a bit, I was able to get it back by adding a little bit of flour because it was overproofed, and get it into my loaf, my Dutch oven loaf. I am new to Dutch oven loaf baking, like I said before, so I don't have any of the fancy tools like the proofing basket or the scoring tools. I just used a bowl and a sharp knife. And it worked out fine. If this is something that I find that our family really enjoys, I might make a small investment to see, hey, maybe I can become better at it. I will say though, guys, I was very proud of the outcome of this bread loaf. I haven't been this proud of a bread loaf in a long time, and I know it doesn't look perfect, but this was my first try, and I really am happy with how it turned out. So my Dutch oven is up to temperature. I'm going to put my parchment paper and my loaf directly into the Dutch oven and then put it in my convection oven and let it bake off. I've seen people add ice cubes and different things. Again, I have to play with it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it exactly like this the next time. I will definitely not let the dough overproof, but I want to try this again. It was a lot of fun, and I really liked the result. So while my Dutch oven loaf is in the oven, my bread machine has gone off, and it is time to work on the cinnamon rolls, which will be the last thing that I show in this video. Cinnamon rolls is something that has become a staple in our kitchen. I try to make a lot of breakfast ahead of time if possible. You've seen me batch cook pancakes. I have always some kind of bread on hand, and I will make cinnamon swirl cake. Today I had a little bit of time, and so I wanted to make cinnamon rolls. Again, I made the dough in my bread machine, and now I'm going to roll it out, add the filling, allow it to double in size, and then put it in my oven to finish the baking time. Unfortunately, my camera's battery ran out, and so I was not able to film me rolling out these cinnamon rolls, but I was able to get it to charge for a little bit and then show you the end result. I will make sure to do cinnamon rolls again in more detail another time so that you can see all the steps I took in order to make the cinnamon rolls. Guys, I'm so proud of this. Again, this is the first time I was doing this. It doesn't look perfect, but it baked off well, and we really enjoyed this, and I will definitely be doing this again. So my meatballs have been in the freezer for quite some time, just a few hours. They probably could have been in there for a little bit longer, but I wanted to wrap this up and get everything ready because it was getting close to bedtime, and I wanted to get everybody in bed on time because school was the next day. So I'm simply just going to remove them from that tray and put them in a zip top bag and return them to the freezer. Again, I'm just happy that I was able to put something away. I'll have that and a tray of lasagna ready for the freezer, ready for a busy night so that I can just pull something out, put it to defrost for a few hours, and I can have a home cooked meal ready to go. So I just wanted to give you another quick look at what dinner was for us tonight. We had barbecue chicken with lasagna. Everything was delicious. And I had an extra pan of lasagna ready for the freezer. I had my meatballs ready for the freezer. My 2 ice cream pies frozen and ready for the freezer, and my cinnamon rolls, you guys, they were tasty. I covered them with a bit of simple glaze and my Dutch oven loaf. There you have it, you guys. Thank you for watching my video today. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Share this video with other family and friends. Thank you once again for joining me in my kitchen tonight. Have a good one.